I think now that you've got something like Strava, as you said, you're no longer a pro cyclist. You don't have Kev watching over every movement. And it almost keeps you accountable, I think. Like if you're uploading to Strava, people get to say, oh yeah, Mitch is keeping fit, or like you're out for a run. All of a sudden in the back of your mind, you're going, hang on, there's people following me. I don't really want to just like dawdle around. You still have a bit of pride about you. You've been a pro for 10, 15 years or whatever it is. Like you still have a bit of stubbornness about you and want to show that you're still a strong rider or strong runner when you're out for a run. And I think this is almost a thing to keep you accountable, keeps you linked up with your mates because someone will see it and might comment on it or go, that's a great loop. I'm going to go try that because Mitch went and rode it. And it's almost a way of connecting with people and probably is a little bit like the Rapha clubhouse stuff that you've often spoken about. It's almost like having a community no matter where you go, that if you go overseas and go ride your bike, you can link up with a local group, see where they leave from, see where they go, meet new friends. Like, there's a lot of social parts about it as well, not just the competitive side of Strava.
Well, that's a little snippet from last week's episode that I did talking about Strava. I chatted with 3 guys to understand what is this thing, Strava, something that I've become very accustomed to now as a non-pro. And I know everyone out there was listening to me going, yeah, we know about it, but I thought it was interesting to go and chat about it. I spoke with Mark O'Brien, who you just heard now, who is a guy who has used Strava as a coach, as an athlete, and also as a guy riding to work. I spoke to Jay Vine, who's used it to become professional, and a guy who's already been pro and has gone back and rediscovered it as well, George Bennett. Those 3 angles, that's what we discovered in last week's episode. This week, I've got you Mark O'Brien to talk a bit of Luft, and I love talking to Marco. He's a guy that I've known throughout my whole cycling career, and it was great to talk to him. He's a fan of the podcast, so he knew all the questions, but I wanted to hear his style tips as well. A guy who has been pro, has raced for a long time, and has been now transitioned into a dad, a guy who's riding to work, commuting as well. It's a really good one, just to hear that angle on Talking Luft, a little bit different to what we're used to. Of course, this episode is brought to you by Rapha, our major sponsor. And a little bit about Rapha. Rapha was founded by Simon Mottram back in 2004, where he saw a gap in the market to reinvent the wheel and make stylish cycling clothing. And I think he's hit the nail on the head from day one. I've had the chance to wear it as a pro as well, and now as a non-pro, I get to try all their different styles. I think they get it right in terms of that leery, out there stuff, but also that more controlled, smart looking kit as well. You know what I'm talking about. I firsthand know what it feels like, know what it looks like as well. I'm loving working with them this year, not only wearing their kit, but especially working with them on the podcast. Speaking of kit, speaking of Talking Luft, well guys, the caps are back in stock. I'm talking about the Life in the Peloton caps, the traditional cap, our very first cap, it's back in stock. The Talking Luft cap is back in stock. We're fully loaded. Head across to our Etsy shop. That's lifeinthepeloton.com. If you listen to Talking Luft, it's criminal not to have one of those hats on while you're listening. That's an order. Get across to the shop, lifeinthepeloton.com, and grab yourself one of our hats. They're back in stock. And guys, look, I'm not going to go any more. Let's sit back and enjoy Talking Luft with Mark O'Brien. Welcome to Talking Luft. Before we even start, tell me about what we've just drunk.
Mate, it was phenomenal. It was, through years and years and years of development, the Orval from 2015. I believe you can tell us about the origins and how it got here at the Iron Bar in Rosanna.
Melbourne, Rosanna, exactly. We're sitting at the infamous Iron Bar at my mum and dad's house. If anyone listening to this is close friends to the Docker family, they'll know what we're talking about. The Orval that we're drinking, I've got 2 of them here. This is a case that I got of Orval back when I was in Green Edge, and long story short, I couldn't get it back to Girona. So I left it at a friend of mine's house, a Belgian friend of mine, Bert de Bakker. He's been on the podcast, and it aged there for 3 years until I joined EF in 2018. And then their bus drives back to Girona because that's where the service course is. So I slipped it into the bus, took it back to Girona. And if anyone knows the podcast, that last year when I was leaving Girona, Durbo and I were recording a podcast the night before he flew out, and we were just chugging these down, these old aged Orvals, because I was like, well, I'm running out of days to drink them. I kept 2, I put them in my suitcase, I brought them back, and here we are, we're drinking the second last one with you, Marco.
It's pretty bloody amazing, mate.
It is actually lovely, isn't it?
This is nearly as good as my old man telling me his story about having Grange in the 1970s and drinking 2 with his mate Robbo at a barbecue once. So we're going to look back on this and you remember we just had that 2015 Orval that ran at the Iron Bar.
Well, I think that's how you got to drink them, because you hang on to them, good wines, good beers, you hang on to them forever and a day, and you end up just drinking 3 or 4 of them in a night because you're trying to get through them before they go off or whatever it is.
It is a Tuesday, mate.
It is.
No time better.
Let's do it. Talking Luft. 2022 Talking Luft. So the way it works now is I've got 4 topics: style, bikes, culture, and about you. I'm sure you know it because you're an avid listener. Let's start. Caps, casquettes, capellinos, mini cycling caps. Marco, what is your style when you don't wear a helmet?
Well, I've got a solid pinhead on me.
Oh, that's good. Perfect.
Yeah, well, I've been watching cycling since the early 90s, mate, so I am very well versed in the in-terrain beyond race. But I'd say for years and years, no matter what, I used to run a cap, road race, cap, track race, cap, indoor track race, cap.
You did too, actually. Yeah.
Loved the little capellino. And but under the helmet, it'd obviously be flush against the noggin. But outside of that, I would, if I was just wearing it around casually, I'd just run straight up, straight forward, brim down, and good amount of luft. But actually, something George said in your Tour de France thing, where I actually get a little bit of a headache.
Oh my gosh! I've never heard of this.
Yeah, so I actually cop that every now and then. But I push through though. If you get a good bit of luft, that's how you got to wear it.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about it then. Without a helmet, back in the day, what would your style been? Back in the 90s, if you could have raced back then, and maybe you cheekily did it out in the old Hurstbridge Hills there, dodging the police, what would your style have been without a helmet?
I see VIS camps with Davo used to do it. You'd get to the bottom of, Falls Creek and put your helmet in the car and he'd take it to the top for you. I would run probably just the straight big MIG. I do love a headband, and I think in summer I would have dabbled with the taffy. The cut-off capellino, and then just having that, so you still got the sun protection from the little brim. But yeah, I reckon I'd go for either the taffy or the just straight up big MIG look, a bit of luft and brim down, ready to go.
Well, you've got actually quite a thick lock of hair there. I think it could fit underneath the helmet quite nicely. Do you still shave your legs?
Yeah, mate. I couldn't imagine going back. I've done it since I was 14 or so, which is basically when I got hair on my legs, I reckon, and I've never known any different.
What's the consistency? What are you sort of looking at? Every Friday night, you'll book yourself into the shower and get onto it?
Something like that. Yeah, I reckon about every week. I reckon I've never let it. I actually had plans this winter. I was like, you know what, I'm going to let it grow out. Cracked after about a week and a half. I was just like, it's just irritating me. So I think it is. You'd love to say it's for the massage or for when you crash, which I haven't had either of those in quite some time. So it's pure vanity, to be honest. Yeah, I just prefer it.
Do you wear X-Pro kit, or do you like to wear the new wave sort of stealth black stuff? What's your style?
Well, I'm still racing with the Inform goggles, so I have my Inform kit on. But in between that, when I went from racing back to joining the Inform TMX mate guys, I was wearing Pro kit. I think I had some EF. I have Sunweb. I have a bit of everything. Might even pull out something old school like the Mappa or something like that. But I think next year when I won't be racing a whole heap, doing dad life things, I'll be definitely running Pro kit. I think I've got a lot of mates that are still over there racing, whether it's Chris Hamilton or I've had yourself and Ben Perez with Astana, and so I got a bit of World Tour kit from everyone, and it's almost like cheering my mates on as well.
I love that, and fully embracing the old Pro kit. Like, it doesn't happen that much anymore. That's why this question's here, and I think there's a need for more X-Pro kit to be worn out there in good style. Yeah,
it's a weird one. Like, if you look at Australia, AFL, no one has ever gone out and made a custom AFL singlet. It's still your Bombers and your Pies and everything else. So everyone has their team they support. It just doesn't happen enough in cycling. I think you go through a phase that as a young kid, you start out, you want all the pro kicks, you look up to them. Then you get a bit too cool and you want to run, show that you're sponsored, whether it's by the, Ivanhoe Cycles or whoever it is, and you want to show that you're good enough to get sponsored. And then now I've come back full circle back to the other side, and I've got some jumbo kit from Harper or someone like that you can you sort of feel like you're supporting your mates. 'Cause I love it. I love that I've got buddies over there, and I've always watched cycling. So for me, I get super proud seeing my mates racing, and then it's really high quality kits. You'd be mad if you didn't.
Well, you're in a lucky situation. Let's talk about bikes. RMG, road bike, mountain bike, or gravel bike. One bike forever. What is it, Marco?
I think it's still road. I haven't done much mountain biking. I went to Derby and Tassie a couple of years ago and ended up in a bush after about 5 minutes with my mates. But gravel I dabble a fair bit on. There's a fair few nice gravel roads going out to Kingers, or I did my CX debut on the weekend. But I think road bike still wins out for me. You can go as far as you want, does everything. You can ride gravel roads, which is fine with some bigger tyres, and most of them have clearance of whatever, 32, 33 now. So I think road bike still for the win.
Social bunch or hour of power?
Hour of power, you know me. Yeah. Whether it's Zwift race or I
thought you were a social bunch, man. Like, you like getting your groups together and doing your rides together, but when you do those rides, it's full gas, is it?
Yeah, it's like pulling teeth for me if I have to do a cruisy, easy ride on the wheel, mate. I get anxiety just sitting there on the wheel, just counting the TSS I'm not getting. It's just, I'm all about going hard, and I've got a bunch of mates that train very similar to me, so we have a really fun group, love riding with the guys, but we all push on and often have a good chop off through a segment or whatever it may be. But work hard, eat something tasty on the way, and then come back hard back home.
Well, good segue. You said segment there. Do you have a Strava account?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Do you hunt comms?
I do. I do, in fact. Yes, it's a point of pride around these parts.
Well, I knew that. I knew it. But we already know that already from last week. Favourite training loop of all time? Explain the loop, because people are going to know it out there. That one loop that you just go, you know what, this is a loop. If anyone comes here, they should do it.
I actually think in terms of pure being a nice ride, it's the Giro della Donna loop, which is different to probably my favourite or most used loop. So both, I'd say the Giro della Donna, you leave from Warburton, you head out, you go up the Reefton Spur, which is pretty amazing. I'd prefer to turn right, head up to the top of Lake Mountain and back down, which obviously a Grand Fondo can't do because you'll have head-ons and whatever else. You go back down into Marysville, along, go to Acheron Way, which takes you through a beautiful dirt road for about 15k, and then up to the top of Mount Donabuang, which is a fantastic climb, really ferny and really nice. But and
then descend back down to Warburton.
Yeah, back to Warby.
How long is that loop?
If you do the Lake Mountain extension, it's basically a 5-hour loop.
If you don't do Lake Mountain?
About 420, thereabouts. Yeah,
how many kilometres?
I think it is.
It's a pretty tough loop, but because it's so picturesque, you don't notice how tough it is, do you?
No, that's right. But I'd say my favourite and most go-to loops, particularly in summer, is straight from home.
Wait. You're doing two loops there.
No, I say actually this is my favourite. I was saying the most beautiful that people should go look is the Giro della Donna, whereas this one
I said, what's your favourite loop? Not the most picturesque.
There's a good reason for it. Is the Hillsville loop from where we are now in the north suburbs of Melbourne. Head out through Mount Pleasant Road in Eltham and then loop.
Are you just stealing my loop? This was my loop already from a podcast a few weeks ago.
I've betted it, mate. I've betted it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we go up King Lake, of course, and then across down Myers Creek Road. If you're lucky, and I can convince the boys, we'll go back up Myers Creek, get an extra climbing because that's the kind of person I am. But go down, get a muffin at Habitual Cafe there, which is the raspberry white chocolate muffin is worth going that far just for that. Although price gouging, mate, it's got expensive. But then from there, come back Old Hillsville Road past the chocolatier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It's quite nice. It's quite lumpy. And then through Yarra Glen, and then you take a right and go up Mount Wise Road, which is a horrible climb, but at least it's pretty quiet. And then across Butterman's Track. Once you get back to St Andrews, you then turn onto School Road and then follow the back roads in from there. Yeah, so you get about 3,000 metres of climbing for it. You get a delicious muffin along the way, and then every now and then we're finished with a couple of beers at my house.
Wow. Yeah, it is a nice little addition to the loop because those roads you were explaining out from Yarra Glen weren't paved back in the day.
No, it's beautiful now. They've done a good job.
Time tells. Rider comes towards you. Are you a wave person? A simple nod, gesture? What is your action, or are you a simple snub? What's your, you're heading out there, now let's just say Mount Pleasant, used to be just like me and one other guy. Now it's like essentially the new beach road. It's the busiest road in Melbourne. What happens when you ride along that road?
So, coming from Horsham, tiny town, I'd might see someone every few weeks when I'm out riding. I would basically do a choreographed dance. I'd put on that much of a performance to wave to someone. Coming to Melbourne broke my soul a little bit, going down Beach Road, and I'd literally wave at every single person. I was basically getting overuse of the shoulder, but get nothing back. So that changed a bit on Beach Road. Still out north, particularly, in like Mount Pleasant Road or Kinglake, I'll give a good solid wave to everybody. If it's a mate that I can see in the distance, they get a bit more than just a wave. But I definitely say g'day to people. I'm a country boy and very polite, Mitch.
Your best bike of all time. What's that one bike that you think about over all the times? You're like, you know what? It's probably not as fast as the bikes now, or could be. Could be one right now. What is that bike?
There's nothing that can, in my opinion, can actually beat the S-Works SL7 that's out now. Got good clearance.
Specialised.
Yeah, Specialised, sorry, yeah. So it's just, they're stupidly fast. They're light. They do everything. You can put, I think Rapha was running about 33 tyres on there, so you can still go off-road a bit, still have a bit of fun. But like they're just so much faster and they're still comfortable and there's just, you can't fault them really, mate. Like there's bikes from when we were growing up that you just idolise, like the old Pinarellos or like the Colnago, I think it's C30s or the Map A ones. Those things are just like, you look at them, amazing. Like I always dreamed of having one of those, but you just can't compare to what we've got now. They're just so damn good, the bikes that you get these days, and the Specialized is by far the best thing I've ever ridden.
All right, well, let's move into culture. Favourite race?
Nationals.
Australian Nationals.
Well, I haven't done any European Nationals, to be fair, mate.
It's got to be. This has got to be your favourite race.
No, in terms of racing it myself, Nationals. I love it. It's really fun. As someone that I had aspirations to make it World Tour, never did. It's a chance for me to go and rub shoulders with guys that originally that I looked up to. Like, you had Robbie, Guerrero, Cadell, those guys there, and then it turned into guys like our year, and now like I have younger guys that I'm still chummy with, and it's still fun to just have a bit of a laugh. I don't go in there like I want to do well, but also I appreciate like how good these guys actually are. They might not be their best in January, but it's a really amazing opportunity for guys to show themselves against the top level guys. I have no plans to go any further than what I'm doing, but it's still fun every year to get up and about. In terms of watching, which I love doing, I think Flanders is probably my favourite one. I did a lot of riding over there in Belgium, even when I was DSing with Drapac, and every day I'd go out and do the red loop, Flanders loop. Yes, like I can basically be eyes closed going through the loops that people are doing there, like when I watch you guys race, and I'm just loving them. Like left here, right here, up Tyneberg, down here. Yeah, so it's I'd say that's my favourite race to watch.
Favourite rider of all time?
Lance. Yeah, I know he's come a few times. I think went from Big Mig into Pantani, and then after about 2000, superseded by Lance. I was very much on the thought process that all these dopers around him, and he could just train so hard and eat so well that he could beat them all because he's the best. Obviously, no, that's not the case, but also like he was. They were doing the same thing at the time, and I think he was still harsh worker and just like I think got a lot of people interested. But then. Yeah, so I'd say, like, of all time, I'd say it'd be Lance.
Favourite rider right now?
Jesus, it's tough, isn't it? Like, there's that whole mix of Van der Poels, Van Aerts, Pogacar, all these sort of guys are just so good to watch. And, like, what Van Aert's just done in the Tour de France as well, like, it's a really tough one. I'd probably still say Van der Poel. I love the unpredictability of the way he races.
The funny thing is, I remember when I was speaking to Heinrich Hauslein, he had a bit of a different opinion between Van der Poel and Van Aert. It was like... I thought, Van Aert was the cool guy, the really, welcoming guy. But it was quite the opposite. So it's interesting that.
Yeah. Well, I think Pogacar probably just won a whole heap of hearts the way he raced the Tour. Like not being as on the same level, I guess, as Vingegaard. Or he was, but also having to waste a lot more energy. So I think the way that he just kept fighting every day, it made it just like the most entertaining Tour I've seen in so long. So I think Podge is well and truly up there. But for the sake of the argument, I'll say Van der Poel for this.
Okay. Favourite kit and team? Now, it could be the best kit out there, but you don't like the roster, or it could be the combination of both. I think you know how I explain this question.
Yeah. Once again, it's a really tough one. I think it's too hard to go past the Map A kit. I think favourite team would actually... I did love the whole US Postal setup.
Oh.
Yeah, loved it when they were going, and you'd have the guys coming into Beltran and then Roberto Harass taking over and lighting it up for Lance and only maybe Balocki flapping on his wheel before he actually went for it.
You got Ekimov on the flats beforehand.
Big George, everyone rolling along. I think that, and in my head at the time, being a young, impressionable boy, I was looking at going, these guys, they go to training camps, they do this, do that, and if I work really hard, then I can get to their level. And no matter if everyone else wants to dope, if you work hard enough, you can still do it.
All right, war story, Marco. You've probably got one of them tucked away. What's one of those stories, one of those days? What is it?
Can I give you two?
All right, go.
I'd say I got a training and a racing one. I reckon the training one was my coach used to be Timmy Decker, now or national coach of China now. But yeah, Tim, on my birthday, I happened to be in the Alps, and he said, "Oh, you got Melbourne and Warrnambool coming up. Just go and do a long ride, mate." And I was like, "You beauty!" So I headed out, gone out from where we're staying in Saint Jean de Maurienne, come along, turned and gone, "Oh, the Col de Telegraph, I know that from TV." And then I've gone up a bit further, and it's like, "Oh, Galibier, great!" Up and over that. Start riding along towards Alpe d'Huez, see a turn to Les Deux Alpes, and I was like, I remember Pantani went up there in 98. I better go look at that. Zung up there, come back down, turn, Alpe d'Huez. They have to do Alpe d'Huez.
Oh my gosh.
Come back down. I'm like, all right, I'm going to head home now. I'm pretty nailed. And then look at the only ways to get home was either back over Galibier or Col de Glandon and the Croix de Fer. I'll hit the base of the Glandon, and mate, I'm like cramping in my hammies.
How many hours is this in now?
About 7 or thereabouts. Like, I was well into it, and I was just like, oh no. And I've like pulled in. I was about to cry. I had no phone reception. I think I had a 3310 on me at the time, the old Nokia.
Yeah.
So I couldn't call on my mate to come pick me up or anything like that. I'm like, I have to get over this hill. I pulled in a little tuck stop, got a couple of Cokes, a couple of Mars bars, got them down, and just crawled to the top of it. Managed to descend back down. I think I got about 7,000 metres of climbing or something for the day.
Oh my gosh.
And I get home, my mate's like, "Oh mate, it's your birthday, I got you some cake." So all I had was a bit of cake for my recovery afterwards. I was so fried. I remember brushing my teeth that night. My hand's cramped on the toothbrush. I'm having to peel it away with my other hand. Like just a broken man. But my race one was, I was trying to make national team with like the world's team, under 23. We went to tour of... I think it was Tour of Slovakia, going along. First day went okay. Next day, line up. We head out, and I'm like, I don't feel all that well in the guts. Like, this is not good. And I'd been doing well in the lead-up race and thought I'm a shoo-in for the Worlds, but just got to get through this one. And hit the first climb. I'm straight out the back on my own. I'm like, oh, there's something really not right here. Keep riding along. I'm out the back, maybe 150k stage. Yeah, just like, no, I've got to keep going. Got Brian Stevens in the car, like, got to impress him. Pushing on. I'm so far out the back. I've got locals jumping in, give me a few turns. I'm just like, just not so well in the guts. All of a sudden, about 30k to go. I'm like, I've got to stop. Done the run up in the bush. Yeah, had to relieve myself. And
Number
then,
2, yep.
Yeah, got the sag wagon still there, stopped waiting for me. Just like waiting. Had to use a sock, run back, got back on the bike. Then this guy's like, you hold on for a second. So he's like boosted me along in the sag wagon. We've got to finish laps. 6 finishing laps around the town. Team's already finished. They've sprinted past as I'm going in for first lap. I've had to then like truck around 6 laps, just a broken man with our whole team all packed up on the side of the road, just watching me doing laps. I made a time cut by...
You made it still?
Yeah, I made it by a minute. Yeah, thanks to the sag wagon pull. And then I've got off. I'm like, thank God, like, at least now, tomorrow's day, like, I'll be better. And then, like, I can make my spot in Worlds. And then Brino, the DS, comes up and goes, you reckon you'd be good to go tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, mate. Yeah, I'll be good. And he's like, I didn't expect you to say that. I've already booked your flight back to Italy. And it turned out Bobridge was there, and he'd come unstuck as well on the day. Just jumped in the team car, same issue. But yeah, I was devastated. But anyway,
oh my gosh, did you make Worlds?
Yeah, I did. I get to do it.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad you told the second story there. All right, about you, BWS, beer, wine, or spirits?
Circumstantial. I wouldn't say spirits, but definitely we're having a delicious beer right now. I'd say socially, love catching up with a mate for a beer. Any sort of dinner or anything like that, definitely red wine. Red wine's always been my go-to, but beer's coming a bit more. I'm not going to go down and meet you at the local pub for a cheeky red wine, mate. It just doesn't feel right.
So what is it?
I think I'd go red wine if I had to give up everything, but yeah, it's very difficult to...
It's a big call because like every day, just say you want to have a cleanser, it'd just be like, Oh, just opened a bottle of red, straight
Just
in a hot summer's day.
Chilled red.
So
yeah, I think, that's a good call. Now I've started dabbling a lot more on the beer game, and a bunch of my mates and I would treat it like a...
See, the beer, you can go all levels. You can still, you can have a cleanser when you get home from work, hot day, but also in the winter, you can pull out a porter if you want, something heavier.
Go on the stout. I think the craft beer scene in Melbourne's really taken off, and a bunch of mates and I love it, and it's like almost like a game of Pokemon where you want to collect them all. Every time there's a new one out, we want to get it and share it. And
not relating to that.
No, you got to get on it, mate. It's an expensive habit, but it's the
Pokemon. I'm not relating to.
Oh no, well, sorry, mate. But yeah, I think overall, let's go. Yeah, you maybe swayed me then. Maybe we'll go on the beer train.
Well done. What coffee do you drink?
None. I love a bit of caffeine, mate, but I couldn't get a coffee down if you paid me. Never been able to drink it. That's probably why I never made it to top level, to be fair. I'm a tea man.
Favorite cross-training exercise? Do you have one?
No, not really. It's
all riding.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think I fit any spare units in with cycling. Like I might do a little bit of... actually, I did a landscaping project at their house and had to pull up a whole bunch of stuff. So maybe a bit of landscaping action, or mainly it'd just be a little jog here and there, or just walking. I really enjoy a good long walk with my wife and son. So I'd probably say it's not cross training, but that's
walking.
Fun.
Oh wow, well that's different.
Yeah,
walking.
You should try it. It's
Love
amazing.
it.
You just use your feet and just get it.
All right, what's in the headphones? When you got the headphones in, I'm sure. Well, I don't know. Do you ride with headphones?
Yes.
And what's in the headphones when you're riding?
If I'm cruising along, podcasts. Got to get your Life in the Peloton hit, or there's a few others I've been listening to, which are really good, and not cycling related necessarily, but then any sort of hard riding music. Play a bit of Russian roulette, go and shuffle, and just see what pops up a lot of the time. Yeah, definitely headphones in if I'm solo, but usually I try to find a buddy to ride with and have a bit of catch up.
Lastly, mate, it's a question that you know very well from listening to the pod. What's the best thing about riding a bike for you? Why are you still riding a bike after all these years? You know, you're out there smashing yourself, doing still 25-hour weeks consistently. Why do you love riding a bike?
For the kudos. No, I think it is a massive social part as well. I've got a lot of friends that ride. So just catching up with buddies is really, really good. You get to go wherever you want. But I think for me, it's almost become like a hit. Like, you know, when you go a ride, have a really hard ride, you feel good. I come home, I'm up and about, really energized, where people don't actually believe me when I say it, but if I don't exercise, like this morning I didn't get out for a ride, had an early meeting, and then I just turned into this sluggish, rubbish version of myself.
Totally.
And I just think it just, that hit that gives me, I'm up and about, I'm a far better father, worker, everything when I've had my ride, because it gives me a lot of joy, get to see the world, and I think I was very, very lucky that I got to do a lot of traveling, even not necessarily at the top level, but the amount of countries that I've been to thanks to my bike. Yeah, it's just something I've always loved doing, and it's something you can do where I can ride with you when you're going and racing world tour. I can ride with my dad when he's trying to go ride with his buddies. It's just one of those real equalizers that I don't think any other sport really has. You can't go and hit a ball with Roger Federer, but I can go, and if I wanted to, I could go for a ride in Monaco with Pogacar and jump in. You're on the same training roads, and it's a really amazing sport like that it sort of, I guess, equalises everyone. We're all out there together on the same roads, just some do it a lot faster than others.
Awesome, mate. Well, thanks for being on Talking Luft.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's been a long time, and I'm very excited for you to have me. Thank you.
Well, there we go. A bit of Talking Luft, as always. Always enjoyed over a cold beer at the infamous Iron Bar this time. I'm on the cusp of heading up to Reef to Reef. It's a mountain bike series. I'm doing it with the young Australian, Holly Harris. We're pairing together in the mixed pairs. We're going to attack the mountain biking. She's going to leave me for dead. But that is what I'm going to try and document next week while I'm up there. Have a chat to Holly as well and bring you that episode next week. So guys, thanks very much for listening. I want to say thanks to Lara behind the scenes, who's helping me put this podcast together for you guys. Will Jones, who pieces these episodes together. But of course, Rapha, who's not only clothing me this year, you guys out there as well, but helping me put the podcast together and create this great content to help us all fall in love with cycling. Guys, until next week, cheers. The music in this episode was composed by Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.